Draw a breath, a deep breath. 10 minutes, what's that, 1,000 words? Maybe, damn, it's already 14, no 18 gone. The burgeoning theoretical and practical fields of interactive documentary, to borrow a curiously evocative phrase of Bruno Latour's, take as their matters of concern the distance and difference between interactive documentary and traditional documentary theory and practice. However, if we begin from the position within new media studies as a study of new media and the new way of doing media studies, then different matters of concern arise. These drawings are the sketches that I used to think through these matters of concern. They begin with the relation of documentary studies and cinema studies, then the arrival of interactive documentaries and outside that's brought within the horizon of documentary studies. More recent work is aware of new media theory. However, in the spirit of Latour's active network, this too needs to be more detailed. The new concerns that arise are less worried about domesticating interactive documentary into existing paradigms than, a bit like the European discovery of the platypus, understanding that some paradigms need to change. There are a lot of matters to be rightfully concerned about, and it's silly to think these can be accounted for by a single theory, method, or explanation. As a contribution to these matters of concern, here are 7 minor, in Deleuze and Guattari's sense of minor, 7 minor propositions that sketch what is particular and different about interactive documentaries on a computer. Each will be briefly described. 1. Not branching trees. This first image is from a presentation, not mine, given at the 2012 IDOC Symposium in Bristol. This is a banal branching tree structure that, because it's a tree, has little to none of the qualities that multilinearity offers. I'm surprised that people still think this is novel or even viable. The second is a drawing I used to explain what clouds do in a Korsakov film. Korsakov is simple software that lets you make recursive, multilinear interactive video works, most notably documentaries. Multilinear media is a recursive media. This means its deep narrative structures are not Boolean branching trees, but complex loops involving repetition and return. If you need an analogy, it's more musical than teleological. 2. Interpretation now faces forward. This is the opening and closing sequences of John Ford's 1956 Searches. I'll leave it play for now, partly because to interrupt it feels vulgar, and to make it obvious how endings respond and replay beginnings, and, more importantly, that we only understand the end by virtue of contextualising it in light of what has gone before. The ending of the Searches achieves its narrative and affecting force because of this explicit relation to its opening sequence. Therefore, in linear media, we know where we have been, but not what is coming next. Interpretation is always grounded in what was. In Matt Saul's Korsakov diary film, Ceci n'est pas ombre, each screen shows me where and what I can do next. This is standard for interactive documentary, and it's rare to find work that doesn't offer navigational or other sorts of choices like this. However, interpretation now happens by wondering how this screen and its content is related to what I can do next. I can see these future events. Interpretation now happens ahead of the work, in front of me, and I make those decisions. 3. Space and time is different. Space is not different on a computer because of some faux virtuality, but because it is now a personal and a private screen. It is not the public screen of cinema or the familial screen of television. It is mine for personal, even private viewing. For phones and tablets, this is absolutely the case. I do not voluntarily surrender this by following a link. If a work does not respect my screen and time, I won't respect its desire to monopolise both. Related to that, I think the iPad's an intriguing device, if only because it is so closely aligned to the novel as a mode of personal interior viewing. So I'm still waiting for films that turn up that actually recognise that and adapt, if you like, a a novelistic approach to actually composition and narrative. 4, plots are for dead people. As best we know, other species do sing, dance and play for pleasure. However, I'm not sure if they tell stories, or at least things that we humans would recognise as stories. If we are serious about post-humanism and the new materialism's critique of correlationism, then we should recognise that stories are one of our deepest correlationist impulses. What other forms do we have already that can do interactive documentary? What forms might be invented, if any? By the way, the screenshots across the bottom of Jonathan Harris's various projects. His work remains an anomaly within interactive documentary for its computational network intelligence. He's one of the few people working in this field who actually seems to approach it from quite a different domain than most practitioners currently do. 5. Relations matter. The world is made up of things. Things can be ideas, objects, words, books, carburettors, forests, black cockatoos, a pebble and cane. All things have multiple facets that are called forth by other things. I don't notice my weight upon this floor, for example, though whatever's underneath me certainly does. We know about things by virtue of those facets that we are able to notice. Now, if things have multiple facets, and they do, then this is what the relations between them consist of. These relations constitute the world, or at least our part of it. This is pretty much straight out of speculative realism. When pieces are small and reusable, they have many facets that let them be readily linked or interconnected. Like any basic Lego, what matters is not the house or field or car or rocket that I make, but that we can make all of them. Interactive documentary needs to regard itself as a media of unfixed and promiscuous relations. 6. Interactivity inside. The dials that surround a television set remain the default model for interactive documentary, and it hasn't changed much. Each of these projects surround video with things to do, decisions to make, buttons to mouse over, touch, click. However, once a video plays, other things might appear outside of the video, click, watch, but nothing happens inside the video. The web showed what happens when we let relations happen inside the medium itself. Deep linking, new forms, for example blogs, RSS, that makes it simple to collect, curate, distribute. If video had relations, could as easily link from one part of a video to another if it became as granular as a href attribute in text as it does in any video editing system, which is highly granular and you can edit anything to anything else. What might then happen? And I've been saying this for 12 years, and I'll remain bemused. In any web browser, I can select any bit of text on any page and copy and paste it anywhere else. I cannot do that with any piece of video playing in any web browser. Why not? Okay, if copies and paste is such a fundamental attribute of the computer, why is video this weird protected object? It's just bizarre. 7, matters of concern. I'm going to finish early. I want to use a new term that's more inclusive, extensive and cognizant of computers, networks and their entanglements. Perhaps even host a conference or unconference for December. Computational non-fiction in a domain of theory is what arises amongst these and no doubt other matters of concern. That for now is where my list today ends. Thank you.